Hello YouTube, my name is Octopus Joey. Remember Battle for Bikini Bottom? I remember Battle for Bikini Bottom. If you're not familiar with Battle for Bikini Bottom, it's a rare case of a game that's based off a TV show that's actually genuinely good. You see, most licensed games usually range from mildly enjoyable to please kill me. But Battle for Bikini Bottom is probably one of the best licensed games ever made, except maybe the Batman Arkham series. I gave this game a proper review a couple years ago, but that one was very nostalgia driven, and I don't still stand by all the points I made, so I might eventually revisit it, but not now. Instead, I'm gonna look at a different game based on a Nickelodeon show that's been on for way too long. Fairly OddParents, Breakin' the Rules. You guys wanna see some quality? Take a look at the opening cutscene.
Time to get up, sleepyhead! I didn't know Minnie had different heads.
Well, that's the dumbest thing I've heard this week. Also, why does the audio sound so compressed? It kinda sounds like their microphone was submerged in mustard. Yes, mustard. If it was submerged in water, it would sound more like this. Now, I am playing this on the GameCube, which has small discs that don't contain a lot of storage, but the same thing happens on the PS2 and Xbox versions, so I have no idea what's wrong. Thankfully, this game has subtitles, but when I'm focused on the game and not the subtitles, it is hard to hear what they're saying at times. Anyway, the plot of this game is really dumb. Timmy's parents are going away for the weekend, so Vicky's babysitting. Timmy asks Cosmo and Wanda to distract her for no reason at all, but they don't because they can't be seen by anyone but Timmy. It's not like they can just disguise themselves and distract her. I mean, they've never disguised themselves on the show before, right? So rather than just talking to Vicky or wishing that she was frozen in place or something, Timmy wishes that he didn't have to follow the rules. Now, on the show, whenever Timmy wishes for something that's against the rules, Cosmo and Wanda's magic just doesn't work. But in this game, they somehow manage to grant the wish anyway, which, and I'm not even kidding, breaks the rules so badly that the next person to touch them will steal the wish power of Cosmo and Wanda. Okay, so if you break the law bad enough, does the law just cease to exist? I was gonna make a joke about the 2016 presidential election, but I'm not smart enough to think of one. Vicky picks up the book, which means she can now make wishes, a fairy court trial happens, and the punishment is that you now have to play the game. There is more to it than that, but I've been talking about the opening cutscene for too long. Plus, you know, mustard microphone.
49.5 hours?
But one last thing I will say about it is that the game tells you to collect pages of the rules. That might lead you to think that this is a collectathon platformer like the 3D Mario games, or more relevantly, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. But actually, it's a linear 3D platformer with a simple goal of going through each level. The whole pages of the rules thing is only there to progress the levels and experiment with various mechanics. And by mechanics, I mostly mean stupid gimmicks. More on that later. When you find a page of the rules, you can't just collect it immediately. You have to find 5 wish stars first. The wish stars run away from you, and you have to either sneak up on them, corner them, or wait for them to get tired. That might sound really annoying, but the wish stars are always near the page and they don't take too long to catch. They can be annoying sometimes, but usually they're okay. So every time you find 5 wish stars and collect a page of the rules, Timmy makes a wish which unlocks some sort of ability or mechanic for the level segment you're in. I would list some of these, but here's the thing. Each level is constructed like an episode of The Fairly OddParents, which is where the game gets a lot of its charm. My videos usually aren't incredibly in-depth about the games I talk about, but this time I'm gonna talk about each individual level. Well, the tutorial level is pretty obnoxious, which isn't surprising. Cosmo and Wanda keep interrupting you to make sure you know how to freaking jump. Spoiler alert, you press A. Other than that, it's just a basic tutorial level, and it does an okay job of teaching you the basics of the game. The only other thing I have to say about this level is that Cosmo and Wanda tell you not to wake up this alien. But the alien can't hurt you, he only pushes you back. It's honestly kind of fun to mess around with. Why would Cosmo and Wanda tell me not to wake the alien? This should be the whole game. The Fairly OddParents, Pointless Alien. After the tutorial, you're put into Timmy's bedroom, which has 3 levels to start with. The more levels you complete, the more levels open. Let's start with Chinless Blunder. The story of the level is that Vicky unknowingly wishes that Timmy was inside the world of the Crimson Chin comic books so that he could see how useless the Crimson Chin really is. So Timmy is sucked into his comic book, and the Crimson Chin has lost his powers because of the way Vicky worded her wish. First of all, I'm really glad they implemented the Crimson Chin universe from the show into the game, and I'm sure most fans of the show would agree with me there. Second, I'm glad they managed to implement a fictional universe within a fictional universe in a way that works with the story. I'm honestly really impressed. The level itself is alright. The concept is that you have to find wish stars and make wishes that will help you defeat 3 villains from the Crimson Chin universe to get the Crimson Chin's powers back. I like how after each level segment, you get an animation of the Crimson Chin getting one of his powers back. The wishes are where the level gets most of its gameplay. The first one leads to an on-rail helicopter-y thing in which you basically just have to cut the strings of enough balloons. Not really exciting because there aren't very many obstacles, but it works. The second wish is a boomerang that lets you stun enemies, go through a short level, and then fight the Spatula Woman. This part is actually pretty fun. The third one is a grappling hook, which leads to a somewhat tedious chase segment, followed by a not very fun boss fight, the Gilded Arches. Also, Cosmo and Wanda are really annoying here and won't shut up about vinyl records or whatever. Also, there's disco music for some reason. Don't worry about it. The boss essentially boils down to shooting a helicopter with your grappling hook and hanging on until the timer runs out. It's awkward in a way that's kind of hard to explain. Basically, you want to keep this cursor in the middle, but it moves by itself in random directions, and you have to fight it by moving the joystick in the opposite direction. If the cursor escapes the meter, which it can do very quickly if you don't react fast enough, the timer at the top starts over again. Okay, so the level as a whole isn't great, but the Spatula Woman part is pretty fun, and nothing in the level is really terrible. I'd like to take this time to talk about the best mechanic in the game, running into walls. If you run straight into a wall with enough speed, you actually bump into it and fall over. I was wrong about the alien from the tutorial. This should have been the whole game. The Fairly OddParents, running into walls. Anyone who's seen the Fairly OddParents episode Power Mad will love the concept of the second level. The plot of that episode is that Timmy wishes for a more challenging virtual reality game than the one he already had, one that you can't wish yourself out of. In that episode, Timmy's friends, Chester and AJ, unknowingly start playing the game too, not knowing that if you go game over, you disappear forever. It's actually pretty intense, for a Nickelodeon cartoon anyway. This level has kind of a similar concept to that episode. Vicky unknowingly wishes that Timmy, Chester, and AJ were stuck in the universe of one of Timmy's video games. The level has a very fake video game kind of feel to it. You jump on things, shoot monkeys, jump on things over lava, and there are several minigames throughout the level. There are only 2 wishes in this level. One is there only to get through one room, and the other is only there to get to the level boss. The level boss is pretty good though. It involves jumping over laser beams and shooting a target when it's shown. It's actually very similar to Prawn from SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. Overall, it's a good level, and it really does make you feel like you're playing a different game within the game. My only complaints: 1, the snowplow segment is way too slow, and 2, the jump sound in this level is absolutely terrible. It's the kind of sound I'd expect from putting sharp objects and a chalkboard in a dryer, not a basic move that you're gonna be doing repeatedly. Next level, A Badge Too Far. The concept of this level is that Timmy goes camping, and all the Squirrely Scouts, which are this game's Boy Scouts, are kidnapped by the Cream Puffs, which are this game's Girl Scouts. What's interesting about the intro cutscene to this level is that it doesn't show Vicky making a wish. It just foreshadows the level by saying that the Cream Puffs are under Vicky's control. Anyway, Timmy has to sneak past all the Cream Puffs throughout the campground and rescue all the Squirrely Scouts. So basically, Metal Gear Timmy! There are only 2 wishes in this level, and they play a much bigger role than they did in a Vicky virus. Speaking of a Vicky virus, did I actually say the name of that level? I don't think I did. I think I just called it Level 2 or something. Eventually, Timmy wishes to be able to sneak into the Cream Puffs camp. Ooh. Oh, come on, I'm trying to keep things PG. Anyway, his wish turns him into a Cream Puff. They even call him Timantha, which is a reference to the Fairly OddParents episode, The Boy Who Would Be Queen, where Timmy accidentally wishes to be a girl. Don't ask me how you accidentally wish to be a girl, I have no idea either. So you sneak into the Cream Puffs camp, learn the dance of identification from the Squirrely Scouts, use it to break into Vicky's cabin, I guess, and the wish wears off. You find out that Vicky has a lot of merit badges that she wished for, I think. Vicky finds Timmy, and then there's a segment where you run away from Vicky, which is very reminiscent of Crash Bandicoot. After that, Vicky's magic wears off or something, and the Cream Puffs are no longer loyal to her. While the story of the level is kind of odd, the level itself is pretty good, providing a mix of stealth sections, platforming, and a stupidly easy rhythm minigame. Pretty good level. In level 4, Mini Timmy, Vicky is disgusted with how dirty the bathtub is, so she wishes that there was some way that Timmy could clean every last spot of it. That makes him tiny, he falls down the drain, and Cosmo and Wanda for some reason have enough wish power to give him this suit thing. This level is a little boring. I mean, the platforming is interesting enough, these germs or whatever look so stupid it's hilarious, especially after you clean them. And the environment is kind of gross, but at least it's not like Conker's Bad Fur Day. But it's just not all that interesting, and the only wishes are this, which is really slow, this, which makes no sense, and this, which is only useful for the level boss, which is actually really unmemorable. Other than that, I don't really have much to say. It's not a terrible level, but it's not that great either. Bad Luck 101 is probably the best level. For those of you who don't know, Bad Luck in the Fairly OddParents universe is powered by invisible anti-fairies. In this level, Timmy has to go to school, but first, Vicky wishes that Timmy had all of her bad luck. So throughout the whole level, your goal is to catch the 3 anti-fairies. Although something strange about these anti-fairies is that they have to take turns laughing instead of laughing at the same time. Did they just not know how to mix audio? Because this looks really stupid. The scenery is really interesting. Not only does it take place in the school from the show, there's also a bad luck theme, so to speak. For example, you start the level by walking under a ladder, and then you immediately have to avoid wrecking balls that crash through the walls. That was not supposed to rhyme. The first thing Timmy wishes for is an anti-fairy capturing device, which you immediately use to capture the first anti-fairy. It's very similar to the Gilded Arches fight, except not quite as precise and way more exciting. Other than that, there's some interesting platforming later on, there are some segments where you have to avoid Mr. Crocker, and Timmy wishes for speedy shoes and spring shoes, which lead to even more interesting level segments. The last anti-fairy is even more interesting than the first two, because there are stacks of books that you have to jump over while managing the meter thing, I guess. Overall, the level is really fun and enjoyable, and it definitely stands out quite a bit. Next level, Crash Landing. In this level, Vicky wishes that Saturday was more exciting. So aliens attack. If you don't vote, people might find out that you're the opposite of on fleek. That's the wrong Will Ferrell quote. Well, you start by roaming around Timmy's neighborhood, which is kind of boring, even though there are aliens everywhere. I guess you get to destroy other people's property, which is pretty cool, but I still didn't find this part too memorable. Eventually, Timmy wishes for a suit similar to the superhero within the show, Crash Nebula, and then he goes into an alien ship. The spaceship part isn't really that memorable either. I mean, there's some interesting platforming, but not much else. The level boss isn't that interesting either. It's supposed to be a reference to the episode Spaced Out, where Timmy has to prove himself worthy of speaking to the king and queen of the alien species, the Yucatanians, by going through the most horrible terrors possible. A field of flowers, hugging a teddy bear, and eating chocolate. The whole joke is that the Yucatanians find everything we consider nice to be absolutely disgusting, and so Timmy has no problem getting through these. But the same joke doesn't really work here because they actually made these trials somewhat of a challenge. I mean, it's not particularly difficult, but it's not a complete joke either. The level is enjoyable overall, but it's not really all that memorable. The next level, Timewarped, starts with Timmy criticizing Vicky's history homework as being completely wrong because she wrote stupid things, such as the Egyptian pyramids were actually cubes. So Vicky wishes that you could see that history would be much better the way she wrote it. This sends Timmy back in time, and now you have to fix all of Vicky's changes. First, you're sent to medieval times, the time period, not the place where you can eat food while watching horses poop in the same room. Here, King Arthur isn't allowed to pull the sword from the stone, so you have to do it for him. Next is ancient Egypt, where the Egyptians are building cube pyramids, and you have to turn them all back into regular pyramids. And how do you do that? By hitting them with a hammer and watching the pieces fall through the ground. And then there's ancient Greece, where you have to make them interested in sports or whatever. It's a weird level, but the progression is okay. My only complaint is that it's a little light on gameplay. And now for the last level in the game, A Dog's Life. In this level, Vicky wishes that Timmy was as easy to take care of as a dog, and that turns him into a dog. And now you're at the mall, don't worry about it. In the first part of the level, Vicky's sister Tootie starts chasing you and you have to avoid her. You might be wondering, what's different about your controls now that you're a dog? Nothing. Honestly, this is probably the most boring level in the game. You don't really do that much as a dog. You can't wish to be changed back into a human because Tootie is in love with your dog form or something. Only a little creepy. You get night vision and super digging powers, after you wish for them, and the part where you fly using your tail is pretty interesting, although it raises some questions. Why does the mall have floating platforms, and how did people get on them? Eventually you get to the mud baths in the salon and kick mud on Tootie to make her hate you so that you can become human again. Why can't you just bite and bark at her, you might be wondering? Plot convenience. How else would they have made a level out of this? After you finish all 8 levels, you fight the final boss, which is Vicky, but she's a dragon. And by fight, I obviously mean make her jump on buttons that make her say words in order to make her say, "I wish I never took the book from Timmy." If that doesn't sound like a stupid enough concept, the buttons don't even have words on them. They only have pictures which barely indicate anything. For example, the star is "I wish," the X is "I never," the hand is "took," you get the idea. On top of that, there's a fake out that looks like it very well could represent "I wish." Also, pants. This boss is honestly really tedious and frustrating. You have to avoid an attack, then run over to a button so she'll stomp on it, avoid another attack, make her press another button, repeat that 5 times and you're done. And if you die, you have to start over. Well, at least the ending is terrible. Remember the Anti-Fairy's turn-based laughter? Now Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda are doing it. I guess they just didn't know how to combine audio tracks. I don't know what I expected from an audio team that submerged all their microphones in mustard. And that's Fairly OddParents Breakin' the Rules. Not amazing, but it's still okay. I really like how every level feels unique, and that makes the game feel very episodic in a way. Every level feels like a different episode from the Fairly OddParents. It's not as good as Battle for Bikini Bottom, but at least it's not Ice Age 2 on the DS, which I can't review because I don't have a DS capture device. Anyway, Happy New Year. My name is Octopus Joey. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and click either of the videos on screen for more. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel at youtube.com/octojoey and follow me on social media at twitter.com/octojoey and facebook.com/octopusjoey.